welcome back. This week we've got the next part of Moses' story, but before we move on, let's recap on what we've learned so far. So we learned about Moses as a baby in the basket and how his mum put him in the water to save his life. And then we had the burning bush, where God spoke to Moses and told him to go back to Pharaoh and ask Pharaoh to let his people go from slavery. And then we had last week, remember, we had the plagues with the frogs and the locusts eating all the crops, but Pharaoh wouldn't do what Moses asked and wouldn't let the people go. So this week we're going to learn the next part of the story and we'll see what happens next. So let's get comfy in those seats and let's do Moses part 4. This week's video is called Death Passes Over. God had sent terrible plagues over Egypt, but no matter what happened, Pharaoh refused to release the Israelites from slavery in his country. Before Moses had seen Pharaoh for the last time, God told him that he was going to send one more plague. Moses told Pharaoh about it before he left. God will pass through Egypt at midnight. Every firstborn male will be killed. The air will be filled with cries and tears of sorrowful parents. Only the Hebrew people will be spared. Then you will come and beg me to take my people and leave. Moses angrily left Pharaoh and went back to his people to tell them what to do, so they could be safe when death came to Egypt. Every family is to choose a fine lamb and kill it this evening, he said. Then use its blood to paint along the doorsteps outside your house. Nobody must leave their house tonight. Stay safely indoors and keep the door tightly shut while God passes through the land. When he sees the blood, he will pass over your houses and not let anything hurt you. You must eat the lamb roasted. Have your coats and sandals on so you are ready to leave. Then you must remember this Passover by doing the same thing every year to remind yourselves and your children how God spared his people from the Egyptians were killed. So the people did exactly as Moses had told them. That night, every Egyptian household lost their eldest son, as well as the firstborn of all the animals. But the Hebrew people were safe. Pharaoh sent messengers to Moses and begged him to leave. In the early morning light, the Hebrew slaves left Egypt at last. 600,000 men took their families and their flocks and all the possessions and set off into the desert. They were free at last. Okay, so in that story, the Hebrew people were told to put lamb's blood over their doorways and then God would save them. And did you know that Jesus is called the Lamb and he came to save us? So we don't need to put the blood on our door anymore because Jesus' blood has saved us. Do you remember back to Easter when Jesus died on the cross for us? That's what the story's about. It's about the blood saving you. Jesus saves us. Isn't that amazing? If we trust Jesus and trust him into our lives, he will come and save us. Wow. So now let's go and do our craft. Okay, this week's craft, we're going to take a cereal box here and we're going to make it into a house. So I have tapped the top up to make a roof, and now I'm going to cut out a door. So you might need a grown-up helper to help you with this bit. It's a little bit tricky. Okay, so we're cutting along here, cutting down here, and along the bottom. And then we'll fold the door back. we have our door, and we can stick on some windows. We've got windows and a door, and now we need some red plaids we put on top of our door so that God can pass over our house. There we are. There's our house. Well, thank you for joining me for Mosey's Part 4. I've got another part of Mosey's story for next week, so I'll see you all next week for Mosey's Part 5. Bye everyone!